It's all so boring here, Margot. If only I could find a real man. Who are you?
Bond. James Bond. 007 here. I'll report in an hour.
Won't you join me?
Better make that two.
The Living Daylights is a 1987 spy film, the 15th entry in a James Bond series produced by Eon Productions, and the first to star Timothy Dalton as the fictional MI6 agent James Bond. Directed by John Glenn, the film's title is taken from the Ian Fleming short story The Living Daylights, which the plot also forms the basis of the first act of the film. The film co-stars Maryam de as Kara, Joe Don Baker as Brad Whitaker, Art Malik as Cameron Shah, John Rhys-Davies as General Pushkin, Jerome Crabb as General Georgi Koskov, with Desmond Llewellyn returning as Q and Robert Brown as M, with Caroline Bliss as the new Miss Moneypenny, replacing Lois Maxwell. The film was produced by Albert R. Broccoli, his stepson Michael G. Wilson, and co-produced by his daughter Barbara Broccoli. The Living Daylights grossed $191 million worldwide. The film was shot at Pinewood Studios at its 007 stage in the United Kingdom, as well as Austria, Morocco, and Eldon Hall, Suffolk. The pre-title sequence was filmed on the Rock of Gibraltar. The film reunites Bond with the car maker Aston Martin. Two different Aston Martins were used in the filming, a V8 Volante convertible, and later for the Czechoslovakia scenes, a hard-top non-Volante V8 saloon, badged to look like a Volante. Welsh-born stage actor Timothy Dalton won the role over other Bond contenders, New Zealander Sam Neill and Irish-born Pierce Brosnan, with Brosnan going on to be the Bond of the 90s after Dalton quit the role.
Where has everybody gone?
292, take two.
The place, Gibraltar. The movie, The Living Daylights, the 007 adventure. The man,
Bond. James Bond.
in the 25 years since the first James Bond film, Dr. No, 007's assignments have taken him around the world and beyond. Now for the silver anniversary Bond film, co-producers Albert Broccoli and Michael Wilson have chosen spectacular new locales with a brand new Bond, Timothy Dalton with 007. The Living Daylights finds the world's most famous secret agent following smuggled diamonds, opium, illegal arms shipments, and a gorgeous blonde spy around the globe. Locations for The Living Daylights will take audiences from the deserts of Afghanistan to the frozen Alps, from a concert in Bratislava behind the Iron Curtain to the marketplace of Tangiers, and from the mysterious Rock of Gibraltar to the gadgets in Q's laboratory. After a quarter century of James Bond movies, The Living Daylights proves yet again that nobody does it better than James Bond 007.
Thank you very much. That's a lot. Good night.
Ian Fleming writes Casino Royale, creating one of the most popular characters in fiction, James Bond. When the Bond films are produced beginning in 1962, the character reflects the mood of the times.
Looking for shells?
No, I'm just looking.
Suppose I were to kill you for a thrill.
could think of something more sociable to do.
How do you kill 5 hours in Rio if you don't samba?
It was a fantasy, and I guess most of the men sitting in the seats felt I could be a Bond. Every woman probably looked at this and said, boy, he really has a lot of women in this film, but he hasn't met me. I think everything would change.
By the mid-80s, some feel it's time for James Bond to change.
People were thinking about becoming more monogamous. There was a whole idea of safe sex. So people commented about, is Bond going to become a one-woman man?
This would become the first change for 007 in a film that would redefine James Bond. With Roger Moore's retirement from the role of 007, Michael Wilson and Richard Maybaum embark on a script for the next film without knowing who will eventually play James Bond.
One of the ideas that was looked at from time to time was the possibility of exploring Bond's roots, to show where he had come from, to show his background. He's always been a veteran character. He's been a fellow who is experienced. Cubby felt we shouldn't really look backwards.
Instead of creating a story which deals with Bond's beginnings, the writers return to the source.
The short story is basically the beginning of the film.
Whoever she was must have scared the living daylights out of her.
Smерть spionam, that's used in the opening sequence, those words meaning death to spies in Russian, come from Smerch, which is the organization that was in the early Fleming books, an assassination organization within Russia to liquidate foreign spies.
Wilson and Maybaum make Fleming's female assassin the central character of the new story. As writing begins, the part of James Bond is yet to be cast.
We weren't quite sure exactly how to go with the part, so we sort of wrote it fairly middle of the road. We didn't make it as comic as it had been with Roger.
We were actively looking for a replacement, which is no easy task, believe me.
We have tested people from time to time between films.
Basically, you've got to have a guy who's looks handsome, fit, right height. He's got to have humor, and he's got to be hard. The first test was Sam Neill.
So you're Tatiana Romanova.
My friends call me Tanya.
My friends call me Bond. James Bond.
All of us were impressed with Sam Neill and very much wanted to use him. He'd been very successful as Riley Ace of Spies.
The key members of the Bond creative team are sold on the New Zealand-born actor, except the one whose vote counts most.
Like a lot of things in life, it was a close race.
An actor who has long been high on the list of candidates is Timothy Dalton, who is first approached for On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Cubby did want him very much. He thought he would be a splendid Bond.
I was about 24, 25 then. Had a good career as a young man in films, having done The Lion in Winter, Cromwell, Mary Queen of Scots, Wuthering Heights. And Mr. Broccoli very kindly asked me if I'd be interested.
But when he came in for the interview, Timothy himself said, I just think I'm too young for this role.
I think Bond should be between about 35 and 40. And as a 25, 26-year-old, you know, it would not have been right.
He wasn't ready for it, obviously.
Dalton turns the role down in 1968, but Broccoli feels he's a good choice and continues to pursue him into the 1970s and 80s.
Cubby and I met Timothy Dalton on several occasions.
We invited him into the studio in MGM 6 or 7 years ago.
He seemed to have a sort of interesting side to him that we thought we might be able to use and explore for a new Bond.
But Dalton's commitment to the film Brenda Starr means he will be unavailable when The Living Daylights begins production.
There was a desperate search on for a James Bond.
These very famous people wanting to play James Bond.
What the actors had to do was do a fight scene and also do a love scene. I obviously didn't do the love scene, I did the fight scene.
I'd come in and coordinate fights with the last 3 shortlisted actors.
A young actress agrees to test with one of the candidates.
The first time we used Maryam was in the test with the actors.
I did it because Barbara Broccoli approached me and I said, yeah, I'll do it for a day.
Well, now that we've been properly introduced.
When she turned out as well as she did, we decided that maybe she could play the leading role.
I was thrilled. It was like, wow, I got a part in a movie and it's a Czechoslovakian girl, she's a cellist, so I'm going to be doing all these wonderful things. And my God, I'm in a Bond movie, me.
Meanwhile, an actor many think is ideal for the role is coming to the end of his network television contract.
Someone that we'd always considered was Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce was so keen on becoming Bond.
We decided to test Pierce, and I came down here to Pinewood and we did extensive testing for 3 days. I cut the tests together, presented them to Cubby, and we sat in the theatre, and he slowly nodded his head.
When I was cast as Karamilovi in The Living Daylights, at the time, Pierce Brosnan was supposed to play the part.
When it actually happened that he was going to play Bond, it was wonderful. They were so delighted.
The other roles are quickly cast. Dutch actor Jeroen Krabbe is approached for the role of Koskov.
We first saw him in Soldier of Orange, of course, where he was magnificent.
I had one wish, which was to be in a James Bond movie. Ever since I'd seen the first ones, when I was 12, 13, 14.
When an opportunity presented itself, we offered him the role.
For the part of cold-blooded assassin Necros, the producers hire a dancer turned actor.
I think what made it happen was really the incredible coincidence that the character I played was described exactly the way I looked.
Rounding out the international cast is Joe Don Baker as Brad Whitaker.
Whitaker was a nut. He was a very rich man who had his own army. He thought he was Napoleon or somebody.
All of a sudden they said, no, it's postponed for 2 weeks. Because Pierce was doing Remington Steele, and they couldn't get him out of the series.
I think it was a 60-day thing for them to come up with any more episodes, and I believe on the 56th day they came up with 5 more episodes.
And the network that he was working for wouldn't release him.
And the edict from Cubby was that Remington Steele will not be James Bond.
So that was the end of the deal.
And we got into tests again, and then Timothy came in.
Cubby always remembered that Timothy Dalton was someone who, in his mind, could play Bond.
And then they approached him again, and then he said yes.
The schedule on this Bond film was delayed, and it was delayed to the point where I became available, and I was asked again, and I was very, very pleased.
Dalton is suddenly a very busy man. He is scheduled to begin The Living Daylights within days of finishing Brenda Starr. The script is now tailored to Dalton's strengths.
First and foremost, I wanted to make him human. He's not a Superman. You can't identify with a Superman.
We were very anxious to get back to the more hard-edged Fleming-type Bond, both in the story and the way Bond played the part.
He told us he was going to go back and reread the Fleming novels to get sort of grounded in the character, and we said that was a good idea.
You can always identify with the James Bond of the books. I mean, he's very much a man, and a tarnished man, really. He's not perfect.
He felt that Bond was a conflicted fellow, and that should appear sort of as a subtext for the character.
He agreed that he wanted to play a harder kind of Bond.
Timothy wanted seriously to change the image quite a bit in that, it wasn't necessarily this guy in the tux. This wants to be a tougher character.
He was going to be James Bond. No room for laughs and jokes.
I wanted to capture that occasional sense of vulnerability, and I wanted to capture the spirit of Ian Fleming.
We were very happy with that.
Filming begins on Gibraltar on September the 17th, 12 days before Dalton is scheduled to arrive for makeup and wardrobe tests. Bond film veterans B.J. Worth and Jake Lombard contribute to the pre-credits parachute jump.
I filmed on Gibraltar and we did a little skydiving sequence out there.
Jumping out of a Hercules was relatively straightforward. It was the landing, because it is very inhospitable terrain.
The winds were very squirrely all over the Rock of Gibraltar.
B.J. Worth and his boys had quite a tricky job.
They had us landing in places that were extremely hazardous, and actually a couple of them they were going to do with a crane and lower somebody down, and we figured we could probably do it better ourselves and much, much easier, and we ended up getting lucky. The 3 landings of the 3 00 agents, we did all in one day and just knocked them off, boom, boom, boom.
One stunt poses problems for the filmmakers.
We were faced with a situation about the stunt with the Land Rover. We decided to go out into the Harvey Desert and
take a lightweight Land Rover out there and drop it with somebody on it and see what happened.
You can't just start dropping cars out of the sky and hope that they land safely. We were planning to use a parachute so we could do take two with the Land Rover.
We attempted it twice, and on the second occasion, the parachute that they put inside didn't open. It got wrapped around the Land Rover.
So all we got was a Land Rover that looked like it had been dropped. Well, it was dropped from 2,000 feet.
Instead of being about 6 foot high, I think it was reduced to about 4 inches. It had just flattened completely when it hit the ground. It was an absolute disaster. It crashed down into the Mojave Desert, and there wasn't much of it left. We then reverted to plan B, and we fired a Land Rover off of Beachy Head with an air cannon and had a radio-controlled rig inside it to release a parachute to pull a dummy out of the top of the Land Rover, and then we blew it up.
Almost 2 weeks after the second unit begins filming on Gibraltar, the first unit starts shooting with Andreas Wisniewski and stuntman Bill Weston.
Ballet training helps to execute action scenes insofar as you have a certain awareness of your body. I had a big fight with Bill Weston. During the course of these 3 days it took to film this fight, Bill fractured a finger and I knocked him out once.
The next day finds the crew on location at Stoner House, doubling for Bladen's safe house.
The first thing I actually did was me being kidnapped from the estate. I liked Timothy on the spot, and we had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time together.
I'd in fact just come off doing a film called Brenda Starr in America, which I finished on the Saturday, flown to England on the Sunday, and started work on a Bond film on the Monday.
And he was completely jet-lagged. He hardly had his tuxedo on, and he had to do this scene.
Despite jet lag, Dalton throws himself into the role, especially when he joins the second unit on Gibraltar.
They sent Timothy to me, and I had a message from Cubby and from John and from Michael Wilson saying, don't damage him.
Very good at action, Timothy, and he was a good mover, and he was very keen to do as much of his own stunt work as possible.
When I felt that I could do and should do the action that we see in the film, I did it.
He was up on top of that Jeep, he was on the side of it, he climbed down, he did a lot of things himself.
I knew that he was strong enough. It's whether he had the courage to hang on the top of that, and it was 1,300 feet drop down the side of the mountain.
We got him on top of the Jeep. And I said, all we want, Tim, are just some nice big close-ups of him. Oh, but I can do it. I can swing around, you know. I said, Tim, we just want some close-ups of him. We don't. And he was so keen, and he was throwing himself around. He was throwing himself off the side of the truck, and my whole heart was going like this.
The producers weren't too happy, but they accepted our judgment, and he did it safely, and he did it spectacularly. And he went down the side of that hill, hanging on the top of the Jeep, with great courage.
A few days later, in Vienna, Dalton faces a bigger challenge, being introduced as the new James Bond to the world press.
It was a madhouse filled with people from all over the world anxious to meet the new James Bond.
The new James Bond, Mr. Dalton.
When we arrived in Vienna, we had a huge press conference which kind of took over me even thinking about it.
The press conference in Vienna, for me, was completely overwhelming.
I think Tim sometimes had problems with the amount of exposure and the publicity.
Timothy is a very shy person.
One of the qualities that I might share with a secret agent who works for the British government would be their desire to keep their private life and their thoughts about it private.
You think to yourself, oh, you know, I'm the same guy as I always was, and how can this change my life? But suddenly, everything you do, you're recognized, and you're underneath that microscope.
So many photographers, hundreds of photographers. So maybe it was a bit overwhelming for him.
Media interest, the public interest in the character of James Bond was more than Timothy could consider. He knew it would be a circus, but I think down deep he didn't believe it would be as bad as it was.
For director John Glenn, shooting at Prater Park is like returning to his roots.
We shot in Vienna, which was reminiscent in a way of one of the early films that I ever worked on in the film industry, The Third Man.
It was the amusement park where Orson Welles and Joseph Cotton made The Third Man, and we did film a scene on the Ferris wheel where they also filmed. So that was very nice.
Meanwhile, back in the United States, B.J. Worth and Jake Lombard had some high-altitude action of their own.
Well, Sparky Green, who's a director-producer, organized the logistics, and B.J. Worth put the team together for the stunt fight.
We had to make this 900-pound sack fly.
We built this great big fiberglass keel inside and then put bags around it, but the air would actually hit the keel, and this stabilized it.
Of course, a 900-pound thing to get in and out of the back of an airplane was a good trick, but a couple of winches and pulleys and cables and good rigging worked out well.
This cargo net was being buffeted by winds, and they were continually being slammed against the fuselage.
And I got tossed off over Visalia a couple of times.
We had safety guys that would chase us. But for them to go out and catch you and do you much good in free fall, be really lucky if they could help you out.
Then I had to do a big swing move, get back on the back side of the bag, and usually by that time I could not move. So I would just hold on and open my mouth, and that was our signal to bring in the bag. So the winches would then pull in the net, and I would just ride there until I got close. Two people would come out and just haul me in, and I'd lay there on the tailgate and I couldn't move, completely spent my energy because of all the wind on the front of the bag.
We built a ripcord system in the net, and you had to hang on, get your feet and hands on both sides of it, so the guy in the plane could pull the ripcord, and then you just sort of let go and open the net up.
The first time we did this, we definitely had our adrenaline moving pretty good, and we got down in position and we pulled the big cable to release them, and it was a wild ride.
Boy, once you let those bags out of there, it got real breezy. All these bags are hitting you like at 120 miles an hour, and you have to still hang on.
When I kicked off the bad guy and tried to climb back in, Bond is just supposed to climb back up the net in a normal fashion and climb over the tailgate. John Glenn wasn't so excited back home because he wanted some more excitement. It was kind of a dull sequence with a bag just hanging there. Well, it got real undull real fast. When the net started going through its wild gyrations, I thought I was going to hit my head, so I tucked my head down, and the third one I was sure I was going to hit it, and so I dropped my head to have my backpack hit it. I don't know how close it actually came, and I never did touch it, but I thought surely it would.
I thought he was going to be hit by the tail of the airplane because it started to come up and down, and it was very frightening, and he got off just in time.
It was obvious if I stayed on any longer, it was going to happen, and that's why I got off when I did.
While Worth and Lombard complete the cargo net shots, the first unit travels to Morocco.
Shooting in Tangier was just wonderful.
Morocco is a wonderful country to shoot in. It has a great international flavor.
Morocco in the winter is still quite pleasant. It was a lovely experience of another culture.
I love the Moroccan culture. It's beautiful. I love the food. It was wonderful. It was like animated chaos and the blazing sun.
On October 27th, the filmmakers begin shooting at Palais El Mondoub, one of the many residences of millionaire Malcolm Forbes.
We're looking for grand houses. It could be the villain's house. So someone said, why not the Malcolm Forbes house? So we went over there and we looked at it.
He very kindly gave us access to the house and the grounds overlooking the Mediterranean.
It was screaming with money and wealth and luxury.
Forbes had a collection of toy soldiers, very expensive toy soldiers.
I was taken with the idea of the eccentricity of having all these toy soldiers there. And we could have a great end sequence, make it kind of eerie with these soldiers and Joe Don playing these war games. And then, of course, whenever you see something in a glass case in a James Bond film, you know that it's not long for this world.
Halloween finds the special effects crew up to their usual tricks at the airfield at Ouarzazate.
The shot of the Jeep being ejected and landing was done by John Richardson as a model.
The tricky thing was getting it at a predetermined altitude because it had to be something like 2 feet off the ground, which is very low. When you look at that stuff, incredible shots. We had a little radio-controlled drogue parachute connected to a full-size model parachute, which was connected to a little model of the Jeep and the skid. Never seen them done better anywhere.
And then the Jeep landing and driving through the wall and driving away was done full-size in Morocco.
The following week, Richardson rigs another high-flying stunt.
We had a sequence done in Morocco where Tim was supposed to be driving or riding a magic carpet.
Bond
rushes along the rooftops and grabs a carpet at some point and throws them on to a couple of what appear to be electrical or telegraph cables going across the rooftops.
The scene got a little overlong, and it was one of the tough decisions one makes in the editing room later on that we could do without it.
Throughout November, the crew films the exciting climactic battle on the airfield at Ouarzazate.
Ouarzazate is sort of just over the Atlas Mountains, high desert area, before you get into the rolling sand dunes. And it was a good match for Afghanistan.
There's this studio called Atlas Corporation Studios, and when you drive up to it, there's an enormous wall with very large letters above it, and that's it. It is one wall. On the other side, it looks exactly the same. It's desert.
Shooting in the desert was mesmerizing. Getting up at 4 a.m. and seeing the most beautiful dawns, finishing at the end of the day with the most beautiful sunsets.
We were able to use an international airfield to build our set on.
We found the cooperation there to be outstanding.
A lot of the army turned up with their own weapons.
I spent most of my time down in Ouarzazate because we had a mass of work going on down there and a lot of miniatures as well.
There were 3 units working.
We'd be rigging for the battle, and I would rush backwards and forwards on one of the motorbikes from the chase sequence.
Richardson also has to create a ravine and bridge for the battle sequence.
We needed a bridge that had to look as though it was over a terrifyingly high ravine.
There is a modern bridge in Ouarzazate that goes over a stream bed. So John Richardson and his men built what we call a foreground miniature.
The bridge was 4 feet high, but looked as though it was 100. The background walls of the ravine were plasterwork, and the rest of it all just sort of blended in with the real thing.
Suddenly, this little wadi with a little bridge 10 feet high was now 300 feet in the air, with all the cladding of the timber on it and everything else.
The water in the bottom is in fact saran wrap on a painted piece of plywood.
The whole thing became an absolute amazing shot, and it was one of the finest achievements that I've ever seen of foreground miniatures.
I think it's one of those situations where you really can't see the join. And then back in Pinewood Studios, we built a quarter-scale bridge over a little piece of river and real rocks, and then we literally blew that up and collapsed the bridge.
Other illusions are achieved in a slightly more low-tech way.
When we came to the actual shot of where it mounts the ram, of course it was impossible to do on the real aeroplane. It was just far too difficult and dangerous.
Well, it's not possible because Hercules are not allowed to taxi with their ramps down.
So we've got in the largest furniture van that we could find.
We're actually on a truck on the runway, and the Jeep came up behind us, and in it went.
Because the sequence requires so much action, the producers minimize the risk and bring in Dr. James Diorta, who happens to be a cousin of Cubby Broccoli's.
So we had an emergency surgeon on the set, which is basically unheard of.
We flew to Ouarzazate, and the crew had built a 007 MASH unit.
Jamie was wonderful.
He used to carry out minor operations on site.
The guys were coming up and saying, "Hey Doc, I got me a mole here. Can we get that off?"
Everyone on the crew had a lump removed.
They were usually fixed in the bar at night,
After these guys had, I think, a couple of pints, then they started realizing, oh yeah, I do want that thing taken off, and there we were, doing plastic cosmetic surgery in Ouarzazate.
But Diorta also has more serious work.
A horseman had fallen off of a horse as the horse was going across a bridge and lacerated his radial artery.
He had to do some surgery on him in the middle of nowhere in a tent.
My nurse, Barbara Broccoli, setting their glove as I exposed the area, cleaned it.
An hour later, Barbara came on the set, completely pale and white. What's happening to you? She said, well, I had to be the nurse I was there when Jamie performed the surgery. I said, could you do it? She said, no, but I had to do it because there wasn't any nurse. I said, how did you do it? By closing my eyes, she said.
The crew returns to Pinewood at the end of November and a few weeks later welcomes some special guests to the set.
During the filming, the royal couple, Princess Di and Prince Charles, were going to make a tour of Pinewood. And they asked that Cubby and I escort them around the studio.
They were being totally entertained because, you know, a Bond movie is like a place for a kid to arrive.
Prince Charles assists with the filming.
When Prince Charles came down, we rigged it up and I actually gave him the switches to fire it.
Which he did. He pushed the button in and sent a missile down to target downrange.
For somebody not used to it and not used to, having to cope with something like that, he did it amazingly well.
Princess Diana has some fun of her own.
We got some of the breakaway bottles that were made in the plasterer's shop.
I said to Diana, why don't you smash a sugar glass bottle in your husband's head? Just for fun. This was front page coverage all over the world the next day. In every paper, every television station. And I was in the middle, laughing.
In January, Timothy Dalton and Andreas Wisniewski fight to the death on a recreation of the Hercules cargo hold on Pinewood's B stage.
They rebuilt the back of the plane in the studio with this net hanging out of it, built a landscape of plaster Paris and a horizon and enormous fans.
We were actually shooting from a crane, shooting down onto the miniature mountain tops. And the net was torn across the set and no more than 6 or 8 feet above the mountain tops.
So for 3 days, we ended up hanging in this net, matching to the aerial shots that they'd already taken.
The net bouncing up and down we accomplished with wires and counterweights so that we could control it and match the sort of frequency of the flapping that it was doing.
We'd just done an hour of it out of what was going to be 3 days, and Timothy Dalton saying, I'm knackered already.
The crew travels to their final location in mid-January, a frozen lake in Austria, for a scene showcasing Bond's new Aston Martin.
And the idea of bringing back the Aston Martin was, for traditional Bond fans, is a great positive.
I've had a few optional extras installed.
So we thought, well, with the new Bond, why not?
This had to be built to have skis come out the side, it had to fire rockets, it had all of the standard Bond things that one would expect to find on an Aston Martin.
The Aston Martin has always been a favourite of ours, with Bonds from Goldfinger on.
The extreme weather makes things difficult for the effects team.
We had to fire up the Aston Martin up a dam and had to go over the top of a hut in the chase.
We're very used to firing things with air cannons, and we've done it on a number of occasions.
Well, it's like 30 below out there, and we fired the car with compressed air. Because of the extreme cold, the valves, instead of opening ever so quickly, the valves had contracted and it opened ever so slowly.
We were rushing around with blowtorches and heaters and trying to warm everything up.
And the car, instead of firing off like mad, just went bloop and went straight into the hut. Total disaster. I went over to Cubby and said, I'm terribly sorry, Cubby. So he said, don't worry. He said, we'll come back tomorrow and we'll do it again. And we went back next day. Cubby sat down in the same seat. We fired it. It flew a dream and it looked great. And I went up to him. I said, was that better, Cubby? He said, yeah. He said, that's exactly what I knew would happen.
One of the last location shots filmed involves Bond in his most unusual mode of transportation.
I actually came up with this idea when I was in America and we were thrashing out the script. And Dick Maybaum said, it's impossible, they couldn't fit in a cello case.
I have to say that Dick and I had our misgivings, and Cubby as well.
And it just so happened on the music stage at MGM, they were having a session.
John got a hold of a cello case, and he had us come over, and he actually sat down in it to show that it could be used.
And from then on, they were all for it.
For the scene, a special cello case is devised.
This cello case doesn't tend to run all that true without some sort of guidance underneath it. Sort of tended to spin round in circles.
Built a cello case in fiberglass with skis on the bottom of it and control handles were built into the sides.
Shooting the scenes riding the cello case lasted 3 days.
I think they loved that, actually.
I did not enjoy that.
I had quite a while whizzing down the slopes on that.
I did not enjoy that at all.
There was times when it went out of control.
I was the one who had to control the cello case as we were going down the slope.
And there were times where we were hanging on the back to slow it down.
And on one side was the ravine, and down at the bottom was the camera crew.
One time it went past me and I dived at it because the shot was over and they were still carrying on.
Timothy weighed more than I did, so it kind of was slightly off balance.
If we didn't stop them, there was a long way down the piste, and it would have become very dangerous.
Plus, they put firecrackers underneath the snow, so it looked like they were shooting at us, and I have a phobia of explosions.
They both were screaming with delight.
I hated doing those scenes.
Doug! We've nothing to declare!
The Living Daylights wraps production in February. The coming attractions promise a more dangerous Bond, and Dalton delivers, delighting fans of Ian Fleming's spy sagas.
We don't expect him to be copying Roger Moore or Sean Connery. I mean, he is an actor, and he has his own interpretation.
He portrayed all the smouldering qualities that we were trying to introduce into the picture, and he was very good in the love scenes. Certainly the action scenes, remarkable debut, really.
The whole world is waiting to see the latest Bond film, The Living Daylights, and the latest Bond, Timothy Dalton. Selena Scott trekked to Morocco and sent back an update on the progress of the new 007.
Small town of Ouazzazate on the edge of the Saharan desert has been turned into a rebel army camp by the James Bond people. It means, of course, that the tourists arriving off the planes are greeted by huge explosions and hordes of marauding soldiers.
162, take one!
Though the plot of The Living Daylights is loosely based on an Ian Fleming short story, it seems right out of the newspapers, involving a double-dealing KGB agent, illegal arms sales and the Afghanistan drug trade. But the biggest news of all is that there's a new James Bond. He's Welsh actor Timothy Dalton, who had previously been approached several times over the years to portray 007.
When I was a much younger man, about, 14, 15 years ago, when Sean Connery relinquished the part, I was approached about doing it. And, well, I mean, he was terrific, you know. I mean, he was James Bond. So I didn't think there was, I thought it would be idiotic to try and take over. These movies are like populist cinema classics, you know. Other actors could go on again and again and again taking over. I mean, it's the 25th year.
Director John Glenn calls Dalton a more ruthless Bond than Roger Moore, more like Sean Connery's 007. The new Bond girl, the half-Dutch, half-Russian actress Maryam has high marks for the Shakespearean-trained actor as well.
He's wonderful to work with, but that's always the case if you're working with a good actor. They're real givers. It's just wonderful. It's great working with him.
This $28 million production won't wrap its 93-day shooting schedule until next month. How will longtime Bond fans react to the newest 007?
I can only say that I'm, certainly intend to make it as good as I can. And we'll see.
In Ouazzazate, Morocco, Selena Scott, Entertainment Tonight.
To meet the new 007, he's Dalton, Timothy Dalton, and he's going to play Bond, James Bond. Here's evening's Mike Jarek.
My name is Bond, James Bond. That was the one-time only Bond, George Lazenby. This is the real 007. Bond. James Bond. I mean, of course, this is the spy with a license to kill.
Oh, Commander Bond.
Call me James. At least that's who we've been used to. But now, after a decade of growing old in the role, Roger Moore has traded in his pistol and martini for varicose veins and a pacemaker. Even the dashing Sean Connery, who started it all back in 1962 with Dr. No, now seems more suited to a desk job. So the time has come once again to pass on the Bond baton. Who are you? Bond, James Bond. Action! The new man is Welsh actor Timothy Dalton. He's the 38-year-old stage performer who beat out Remington Steele's Pierce Brosnan and a few hundred others for the part.
I rather felt that by now, surely, you could have a guest actor doing his James Bond every time that they made a James Bond film.
Timothy hopes his debut in the new Bond adventure, The Living Daylights, will be more than just a guest appearance. But as he found out on the very first day of shooting, it's not going to be easy.
To find yourself hanging off the Rock of Gibraltar over about 1,000-foot drop on your first day of work makes you wonder, just exactly what's in store for you. I'm in reasonably good shape. You must remember that, Bond uses his mind. He uses his ingenuity. He thinks. I mean, he's not a Rambo.
007 here. I'll report in an hour.
Won't you join me?
Better make that two.
My approach to it has to be based upon its foundations, and its foundations are those terrific books of Ian Fleming. I mean, I'd read one or two of them years and years and years ago when I first saw the first movies, but rereading them, they are splendid. And the essence of it all is there. That's the fountainhead that all this great 25 years of movies has sprung from.
And over these 25 years, almost no expense has been spared. In fact, there's been criticism that too many gags and too many special effects have become the stars of the films. And even though the new movie will have its share of action and exotic locations, Timothy Dalton hopes to once again make James Bond the star of James Bond movies.
A lot of people might say, well, the films have become too flippant or they've become too fantastical, but others would say, that's why I go. I love it. I mean, Bond is an adventurer. He is a romantic. He is steadfast and loyal. He's brave. He's one of us with special skills, but where others might cop out or compromise, he's relentless.
And Timothy's attitude has infected everyone here at London's Pinewood Studios. This is the real home of James Bond, the giant soundstage where the indoor shooting has been done on all 14 Bond pictures. There's even a storage room full of all kinds of leftover props. But despite all this history, this time they've got a younger leading man playing a more dangerous James Bond. And this back-to-the-basics spirit has given the cast and crew a new challenge and helped make the past few months of shooting a lot more fun. Maryam plays Kara, Bond's beautiful nemesis.
And this is just like a new movie. And for everybody, I mean, not only on the acting side, the director, I mean, the production side, for everybody, I think it's sort of quite an excitement.
Art Malik plays the Afghan rebel leader.
I think what is going to be good about Timothy Dalton playing James is the fact that he will be an acceptable 1986, 1987. He'll bring James Bond into the 80s.
Can Timothy Dalton pick up where Sean Connery and Roger Moore left off? Will he be able to save the world and get the girl? Will he, too, order his vodka martini shaken, not stirred? Don't ask Timothy. He's not talking.
Pay your money and go and see the movie.
It is now 46 minutes after. Timothy Dalton is not a new-faced moviegoers or television viewers, from Flash Gordon to Mistral's Daughter to The Lion in Winter with Peter O'Toole. Timothy Dalton's pretty well known already, but now he is James Bond, and Joel Siegel went on location in Tangiers to meet him.
I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
Wait a minute. If he's James Bond...
My name's Bond.
And if he's James Bond...
My real name is Bond. James Bond, you must take my word for it.
And if he's James Bond, who's this guy? Could he be James Bond?
And action, Tim.
Timothy Dalton, the new James Bond, filming The Living Daylights on location in Tangiers. Did you ever imagine, ever think you would play James Bond?
Well, no, because Sean Connery was doing it.
And he was Bond. He was going to be Bond forever. Not exactly. Only diamonds are forever. Sean Connery was James Bond, starting, yes, with Dr. No 25 years ago.
Good evening, sir.
After the last few Bonds, Roger Moore would say, 007? No more. More than 1 billion people have seen the 16 films, the most successful character in the most successful series in screen history. Talk about Goldfinger, he is the spy who we love.
He's a man that fulfills a lot of fantasies, I think probably both male and female. I suppose a lot of women in the audience feel that maybe if it was them, just them, I could do it, you know. Whether you call them strengths or weaknesses, I mean, hard drinking, hard smoking, hard driving, womanizing. If you're working as a secret agent, you can't become emotionally involved. But having set that up, that hard side to the man's character, he then always had a moment of vulnerability when he fell for a woman.
How are you going to make your Bond different?
Well, there's no way that it cannot be my own. I mean, just being a different man with a different look obviously makes a tremendous change anyway.
All right, we'll go over there.
All right, now you press the red button to start.
The first thing that strikes you about Timothy Dalton are his looks. He looks A, great, and B, like he means business. Intense on the set, private off the set. He worries over details, his clothes, the props, the action. If I jab the guard with a left, that's not enough to knock him out. I've got to land a haymaking right that other actors would leave to the director or just ignore.
It looks like that blow's coming from with some more weight behind it.
That's part of Dalton's classical, yes, Royal Shakespeare Company training.
I think perhaps an English actor probably works across the medium more. Theatre, television, film. I mean, in my first year, not only was I working at the Birmingham Repertory Theatre, a very famous English repertory theatre where Finney and Olivier trained, but also did a movie called The Lion in Winter with O'Toole and Katharine Hepburn, and a short TV series.
And look at him now. Not even the Royal Shakespeare Company can train you for this or this.
James Bond doesn't play Shakespeare.
How much of you is in James Bond?
Oh, I mean, very little. I mean, I don't have any licenses to kill. No, nobody's shooting guns at me. No. But I think probably one of the reasons for the success of any character, be it a character in classical drama or modern TV or in movies, is that audiences feel that they can identify with elements of that person that they can understand.
Do you have any idea what your life is going to be like once this film comes out?
Probably a lot easier than people who are in very popular TV shows that run in everybody's homes every day or every week, you know. I think I have 4 days off in a 5-month shoot.
Why are you smiling when you say that?
Well, because it's exciting to be... I mean, I think the thing I get most pleasure from in my life is the work I do. So why not be happy about it? I mean, it makes me happy.
Tangiers. The name alone spins webs of intrigue, the promise of romance, a hint of danger. This is something I have always wanted to say. Come with me to the Kasbah. The truth, with due respect to Charles Boyer, the Kasbah is hardly romantic and certainly not dangerous, but there is an excitement here. They don't do it this way at the local Piggly Wiggly, but they've been doing it this way here for 2,000 years. Mark Twain called Tangiers clear out of this world. But this is more than the Kasbah, more than Tangiers. This is the set of the new James Bond movie, The Living Daylights. Doing this kind of James Bond stunt is tough anywhere.
I get really good buzz out of it. Right, we've got people up there on the balcony looking.
Add the crowds, the color, and a camel or two, and tough becomes almost impossible.
I think the most difficult thing about doing this type of scene is basically setting it up and making it look natural. Trying to make the locals act for you.
Why trek to Tangiers and schlep to the Kasbah when they've got palm trees and stucco and costumes and camels in Hollywood?
There's a certain glamour that the kids that watch television and watch films today, they're very smart and they know just where you are. They know you're in Hollywood behind a palm tree and not in Ouarzazate or not in Morocco.
Most producers would give an arm for their names to become household words. But Bond's producer started that way. His name is Cubby Broccoli. He was a truck farmer on New York's Long Island, and Uncle brought the vegetable over from Italy.
The fresh broccoli was raised right on the other side of 59th Street Bridge in Long Island City.
You're kidding.
It's kind of good vegetable.
I think so. This broccoli left farming for another kind of green. In 25 years, he's produced 15 Bond films, sold a few billion tickets. He knows it's worth a trip, even though shooting on this scale is a monster. 200 people eating, sleeping, working, tons of equipment. Bottom line costs $250,000 a day. Lost if the camera breaks down, if the star gets hurt, if it rains, if the $3 million yacht doesn't show up. It sailed in this morning with at least 15 minutes to spare. Last night, this 59 Chevy convertible was literally a chicken coop. In this scene, Bond, the new James Bond, played by British actor Timothy Dalton, is being kidnapped by two typically beautiful James Bond women.
We're just arresting him, and he thinks we're hookers, which we're not. We're CIA agents.
298, take 5, and action!
On screen, their camera won't show you the whole picture. You'd think the chickens would have remembered to change the oil every 2,000 miles.
It's not Rambo, you know.
This day, the Bond girls were posing at the pool.
Oh, we're just like the girls that lounge around and make everything look luxurious, really.
The second unit was filming stunts in the Kasbah. The female lead, Maryam, was posing for stills. The villains of the piece were plotting on how they were going to rule the world. Our hero held helpless aboard a $3 million yacht. Now that's a day's work.
Well, this location is romantic and it's exciting. I guess we're like a load of gypsies, wandering gypsies, really. Our boys are very traveled and very experienced and tend to sort of make themselves comfortable wherever they go.
Well, they're a big, happy family. They've been making these Bond movies for 25 years. They all know each other and love each other, and they just walking along like a happy army, giggling, making a good old movie and having a good time. They're just down home.
Without the teamwork and the timing of a crew that's been together for some members 10, even 15 years, this would be mission impossible. But of course it's not. It's James Bond.
The Prince and Princess of Wales attended the film's premiere on the 29th of June 1987 at the Odeon in Leicester Square in London.
And here comes the royal couple into Leicester Square. A fabulously warm evening, almost overpowering. And there they are, the Prince and Princess of Wales.
What a
first they're meeting the Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress, Councillor Kevin Gardner and the Baroness Gardner.
What a beautiful dress the princess has on. Quite lovely.
And now they're meeting Jim Gardner and Peter Smith from the Prince's Trust, the charity.
Oh, that's my old friend Q, Desmond Llewellyn, who's now explaining about the Aston Martin car to them. Isn't that smashing?
It'll be of great interest to the Prince, of course, because he has an Aston Martin himself. And now they're moving across the square. Tremendous support from the crowd. Great reception they're getting. And I can tell you there are hundreds and thousands, in fact, in the square. And they're going off to a great horde of balloons, which are going to be released into the sky by Prince Charles. This is to fundraise for his charity, the Prince's Trust. People have been buying the balloons at £1 a time, and after they're released, the one that travels furthest wins a prize, not only the person who bought that balloon in the first place, but also for the person who finds the balloon. I wonder how far those will go as they travel up into the balmy evening air of Leicester Square. The temperature in mid-afternoon certainly was in the 80s. I don't think it was much less in the early evening either.
Oh, Princess Diana has such a beautiful dress. It's of white organza and decorated with braided gold. and white satin peplums. I understand she's worn it before, but she looks quite lovely in it.
And now they're meeting the manager of the Odeon, Mr. Alan Harris Quelch, and in they go into the cinema. And up the stairs there's Timothy Dalton, 007, waiting, and his co-star Maryam Darbo beside him. Up the stairs they come, and Prince Charles about to meet Cubby Broccoli, co-producer of the film. And there's Michael Wilson, co-producer, and he'll be leading the Princess along the lineup. And John Glenn, who's the director, talking there to the Prince of Wales. I think you've been in a few lineups like this in your time.
Oh, only once. Only once after Octopussy when I met the Prince.
And there's Alec Mills, who's the director of photography on the film. I think that's quite an experience.
I might say that Michael Wilson is also the co-writer along with this gentleman.
Richard Mayburn. I think the Prince and Princess are great Bond fans, as you gathered earlier. They visited Pinewood, where much of the film is made. Thoroughly enjoyed themselves. Julie T. Wallace there, meeting Prince Charles. Also well known for her performance in The She-Devil on television. And in this particular film, The Living Daylights, she near smothered a gentleman with her ample bosom. Thought you'd laugh there, Lois. Now, Prince Charles is meeting Thomas Wheatley, who is an agent on Bond's side in Bratislava.
No, don't make me look.
Prince Charles is remarkably witty. He is simply a delightful gentleman. I've met him on 2 occasions. The last occasion was at a polo match, and he came over and ducked under the tent and said, "Oh, Miss Moneypenny, we really must stop meeting like this." Lovely.
And there's the Prince talking to Art Malik, who we've heard from earlier. And he's feeling the heat. It's incredibly warm, I can tell you, in this part of the cinema.
And there's
Jeffrey Keane.
My old friend Jeffrey Keane, who is the minister and has been in about 6 Bond films. Charming man.
It's quite an experience seeing all these famous Bond faces all in the same room together. And now the Princess is also meeting Art Malik. Very familiar face on British television because of The Jewel in the Crown and the film, of course, Passage to India.
Alright, what, you gonna go home?
Now, this is the new Miss Moneypenny. I can't help feeling a tinge of jealousy. But she is a lovely young girl and very pretty, and does a splendid job.
And there's Robert Brown, M. Another very well-known face from the Bond films. That's Caroline Bliss again, the new Moneypenny, talking to the Princess. How different she looks from the clips we've seen this evening, when she has her hair pulled back and wears the glasses. And I think you'd be troubled if you didn't know to recognise her instantly from her appearance in The Living Daylights.
I don't know why they did that to her, why they made her wear glasses, and she had this really peculiar hairdo in the first scene.
There's Robert Brown again, M.
He looks splendid in the first scene of this Living Daylight.
There's a row of villains, including Pushkin. John Rhys Davies, who talks with a heavily continental accent in the film. And in fact, he's talking with a beautiful musical Welsh accent in the foyer here tonight. And Joe Don Baker, another villain in the film. Wasn't too pleased when you said he always played villainous parts.
No, he wasn't at all pleased. I wanted to call him an attractive Texan, but I decided not to.
John Rhys Davies, now with the princess. And Walter Gotell, who plays Gogol, the Russian chief. Jerome Krabbe, who Lois was talking to earlier.
Delightful man, great sense of humour, great charm.
A tremendously popular figure in his native Holland. And Maryam Darboe, preparing to meet the prince.
Mr. Brockley, Mr. Brockley.
You can see Timothy Dalton in the background. I think he was quite nervous about the whole thing tonight. And doesn't the princess look absolutely charming? That's Maryam Darboe, who, as you will have gathered earlier, had to learn to look convincing playing the cello for this part. And Timothy Dalton, the new 007, James Bond, ex-naval officer, owner of Aston Martin, meets Prince Charles, ex-naval officer, owner of Aston Martin.
I'd like to say that
There's Q in the background.
He has a very odd haircut tonight. His hair and...
It certainly looks different, I agree, from the film itself, doesn't it?
Would you go to the matinee before?
Princess now herself meeting Timothy Dalton. And that is your new James Bond. Now he was terribly concerned about the reaction that he would get as the new Bond. He'll soon find out. From now onwards, the world will tell him what they think, no doubt. And now it's presentation time. There's Heather Banter, who is Cubby Broccoli's granddaughter, giving a bouquet to the princess. What a fantastic moment that must be for her. And Greg Wilson, who's the son of Michael Wilson, co-producer.
The world premiere of the new 007 movie. And here's a lady who was in at the beginning. It's Miss Moneypenny, played, of course, for many years by Lois Maxwell, who's my co-host for the evening. Welcome to you, Lois. How many years exactly?
24. All the James Bond films except this one.
And several Bonds.
3, to be precise. And tonight, a new one. And not only a new James Bond, but a new Moneypenny. And we'll be meeting her. I'm afraid the new James was too young for me.
Lois, did you ever meet Ian Fleming, the man who started it all?
Oh, yes. He came to the set of the first 2 films frequently. And after the wrap-up party for Dr. No, he came over to me and he said, when I first wrote Miss Moneypenny, I pictured her as tall and elegant. You are that. And you have the most kissable lips in the world. I was really very sad when he died during the filming of Goldfinger. Caroline Bliss, did you enjoy playing Miss Moneypenny? And did everyone at Universal Exports treat you nicely and well?
Yes, I love playing Miss Moneypenny, and I've been treated incredibly well, yes.
Are you afraid of being typecast the way I was?
Were you? I believe you did a lot of other work as well as Miss Moneypenny. I'm certainly hoping to.
Yes, I hope you do too. Would you really like Miss Moneypenny's part? Because she's such a very nice character to be expanded.
Yes!
I always wanted it to be expanded too.
Yes, I read an interview that you'd done and you said every year I was hoping that something more, and I thought, I think I've heard that before. Yes, I certainly said.
Did you enjoy working with Timothy Dalton?
Oh, yes, yes. I'm afraid you missed out on that one.
I know, it's a great pity, and I'm very cross about it.
However,
I wish you great success in the future.
Thank you very much. Lovely to meet you.
And have a wonderful time tonight. Are you excited?
I'm really excited. I'm very nervous and very excited. This is my first time.
Yes. Well, I had to wait for 12 pictures to meet their Royal Highnesses, so you're a lucky girl tonight.
I certainly am.
You can make your own mind up about The Living Daylights. It's on release all over Britain from next week. Finally, from us all in Leicester Square, goodbye.
Bye.
As Mayor and Governor of Vienna, I welcome you here in our City Hall. We are very glad that this press conference takes place in our festival hall. I welcome very heartily, very warmly, Mr. Broccoli and his family.
I intend to approach this project with a sense of responsibility to the work of Ian Fleming and to the project, the film The Living Daylights, as written by Michael and Richard Maybaum.
Timothy approaches more the maturity of Sean, who we've always admired. Different interpretation. The privilege of the actor is that interpretation. And we have great confidence that Timothy will find his own niche in interpreting the Bond character.
Well, I have to make it my own. And as we're all different men, there's bound to be differences. But the film is a collaborative effort. And the finished result will be the combination of the work I do with John and Maryam and YouRun and all the other people who make these films.
Well, I think we've always tried to make our films very much up to date. With Timothy taking over the role, I think the character essentially will be the same, but the way he plays it will be completely his own. I think that Bond is always a thoroughly modern man, but still holds true to the old traditions.
I think the essential quality of James Bond is that he's a man who lives on the edge. You never know, he never knows when at any moment he might be killed. Therefore, I think some of the qualities we associate with Bond, the qualities we've seen in this series of movies, the qualities that Ian Fleming wrote so well about, reflect that sense of danger in his own life. We know that he drinks. Lines like shaken, not stirred reflect that sense of drinking. We know he smokes. We know he likes to drive fast cars. I think the qualities of the man are the qualities of a man who is living very much on the edge of his life.
I've been told that when Roger Moore stopped doing James Bond and he was asked, "Is there anything on your list you want to play?" he said, "Yes, the villain in James Bond." So I'm very happy to be in that position now.
No, I'm very, very, very happy to be on this movie. And also one thing that's very important, I mean, apart from the side that you see the glam, you know, all the side of the Bond, I'm working with lovely people. And that's very, very important in the business when you work, who you're working with. And I think it's going to be a great time.
He's always liked his women. I suppose he can take them or leave them. Or maybe take them and leave them. Any actress who plays any part in any movie carries with her and within her performance a great responsibility.
We've always liked him. We liked his work. We like his style. And we're sure his interpretation of James Bond will be one that we will be happy with.
I think it's a wonderful action-adventure story. And one must remember also that the British film industry is not what it used to be. People might try and con you that it's in fine fettle, but it's not. And Mr. Broccoli, for 25 years, has produced a British product with British crew, British directors, and a major leading part for a British actor. And the longevity of this film series is a testament to how good and how exciting and how interested an audience are in watching them. And I don't think any actor should dismiss such an opportunity lightly. I mean, it's a great thrill to be doing such a popular and an exciting film, which I embrace with joy and enthusiasm.
8 minutes before the hour now. James Bond, from the beginning of his career as the world's most resourceful secret agent, 007 has always been a spy with a gimmick or a gizmo to get him out of any predicament. All of it thanks to the inventive genius of his associate Q. Well, James Bond is back, Q is back, and it's business as usual in the new Bond movie, The Living Daylights. Watch.
Ah, good.
Something we're making for the Americans. It's called a ghetto blaster.
And joining us now is Q, Desmond Llewellyn, and M is here as well. He is played by Robert Brown, and both, of course, will be familiar faces to Bond aficionados from thrillers past. And good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
We have M, we have Q. Where's NOP?
A running question, isn't it?
Is it
It is, yeah.
an obvious one, I guess. There's somewhere they're out there.
That was a dirty trick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this new movie a new Bond? Can Timothy Dalton do it? I mean, that's a big step, isn't it, Robert?
He's done it.
Yeah.
Extraordinary performance.
Really?
Yes, indeed. Yes.
But of course, it's how he comes across. Really, I mean, it's. I almost think sometimes it's not how good an actor you are. It's just what kind of appeal you have, or is it in the acting?
Let's face it. Yes, my wife's reaction after the premiere was, "My God,"
which is the reaction, I guess, that's necessary. When you go around, Desmond, people must say to you, "Do you really come up with these things?"
Oh yes, they do,
and you do, of course.
Yeah,
these are all your inventions, right?
Well, of course, I don't invent them. They're all real things. You can actually go and buy them in the shops.
Some of them really have become over the years.
Oh yes, I mean, here, for instance, this is the. The underwater camera. No, in Thunderball, there was no such thing as an underwater camera. So they asked if they could make one, and they tried this out, and this is now the Nokomis. And anybody can go and buy it.
And I remember in that movie, in Thunderball, wasn't there a car that went underwater as well?
No, that's The Spy That Loved Me. And here is a model. And the car does go underwater.
Yes.
I mean, you'd have to wear a wetsuit and breathing apparatus, but it actually does go underwater.
Of all the gizmos, gimmicks, contraptions that you've introduced over, you've been in what, 13 of the 15? 13 of the 15 films.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Do you have one?
Well, I mean, if you want which one I would like to have, of course, would be the Aston Martin. Who wouldn't?
Yes. And he drives an Aston Martin again in
we've got a new one.
In the new movie. I think we have a clip of it, as a matter of fact, don't we? Because you have it outfitted with all sorts of extraordinary things.
The famous Aston Martin. This time it was a rocket engine.
My Lord. And what else do you have in the in this new movie?
Now, whistle.
Whistle?
Yeah, don't whistle Rule Britannia, because God knows what had happened.
Okay.
And don't give a wolf whistle.
Okay.
But just give an ordinary whistle. No, not that.
Sorry.
Just an ordinary whistle, and I'll try and make it work. They're frightfully temperamental. Try now.
Worked well in rehearsal.
Just an ordinary whistle.
There we go. Yeah. Now, it emits a little something in the new movie, doesn't it? That's
well, I mean, this is a real key ring which has been invented by Philips's, and I wish to God they'd put it on the market, because everybody is saying, where do I get one?
Get them?
And, of course, naturally, in the film, we do...
a little surprise with
surprises,
it. Yes, I should say. These movies, I read somewhere, Robert, have been seen by 1.5 billion people, the 15 movies. Do you have some sense when you're doing them this is some sort of very strange phenomenon that you're all a part of?
Oh, well, not for me, strangely enough, because I came in when Roger was doing them, and it was all mixed together. You know, he was such a dear creature, and, well, still is. But we just enjoyed doing it. There was no thought about, you know, this is going out. But the Bond family know what's happening. They know what to do about it all.
Great, enjoyable movies to do. And I suspect, Desmond, you with 13 of them, you must see them you must see yourself aging before your own eyes. As you look at the old movies.
It's most There it's going? Yeah?
Yes.
I don't know what said that or.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you both, and we look forward to the new movie, which comes out soon, I guess.
Well, I think you'll enjoy it. I think it's terrific, yes.
Good. Nice to have you both with us.
Thank
you.
And we'll be back. 20 minutes before the hour now. She is the latest in a long and distinguished line of women, Bond women, that is. Maryam Dabo is 007's love interest in the new James Bond movie, The Living Daylights. It is the 15th screen adventure of the inimitable secret agent, a string of movies producing a virtual hall of fame of femme fatales. Ursula Andress was the very first in Dr. No in 1962, you may recall. Then came Diana Rigg, Jill St. John, Jane Seymour, Britt Eklund, Barbara Bach, Louise Childs, Maude Adams, and Kim Basinger, to name just some of them. Well, Maryam Dabo plays a concert cellist ensnared in a vicious international plot and ensnared in the charms of the new James Bond, who is played by Timothy Dalton. But most important, Maryam Dabo joins us this morning. Nice to have you with us. Now, you have taken up with someone who's not a very good bet. I mean, he's had rather public liaisons with 14 women before. Why would you take up with somebody who's been around so much?
Well, I mean, in this film, I've got a wonderful part, and it's sort of a relationship that's sort of more up to date and more developed, and there's a nice romance, really is.
But this guy Bond is a bad bet. I mean, you got to know that. You're
but in the
fighting
books,
the odds
in
here.
the books, in Ian Fleming's books, he really fell in love. He actually really fell in love.
Well, he seems to fall in love in these ones too, but he falls in love a lot, you know. This guy is
well,
not.
the nice thing about this film and The Living Daylights is that I'm the only character with who he gets involved, and so there's a nice sort of relationship that sort of gets developed in the film.
Actually, the relationship in terms of actual sort of physical bonding, if you'll pardon a terrible way of putting it, really sort of toned down a little bit, isn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, I mean, there's not quite such steamy scenes between
Oh, right,
Bond
you mean
and
that. The Living Daylights is one of the short stories of Ian Fleming from Octopussy, and they took the character, the cellist, and, you know, developed it in the script. And I don't see a cellist sort of being very sort of, you know, sexy and sort of steamy, and I think that was a part, and I think the whole approach of this film is different. It's much more back to sort of the essence of what Ian Fleming wrote.
We have a little clip of you and Timothy Dalton, the new James Bond. Let's take a look at that.
I'll catch up with you later.
You're going back to Georgi, aren't you? It's too dangerous. Don't go.
I have to.
You have to what? Get killed? I won't wait for you.
Fine. Then I'll have Cameron send you direct to London.
You dumb, stubborn, stupid.
What's that supposed to mean?
Back end of horse.
Back end of horse, huh? Timothy Dalton, is he different? You've seen the other Bond movies, obviously.
Yes.
Is he different than the...
Well, of course he's different because he's a different person from the start. No, but he's what he's given, I think, in the film has been wonderful. He's brought some qualities. Somebody compared him like, you know, he's a more thoughtful Bond, and there's more of a human being. I think he brought a Bond that's more real on screen and more human.
And sort of going back to the original concept that Ian Fleming had of what...
So, and plus Timothy obviously has got his own quality. You know, Sean Connery had his own quality, and they're all different. And he comes across very, very strong in the film. He really is wonderful.
Now, Bond has never loved the same woman twice. Is there a chance that you could reverse that? I mean, obviously there will be more Bond...
that would kill the myth of James Bond if I suddenly, you know, reappeared.
Really?
Yeah.
So you know going in, it's just a short-term love affair.
That's it. And I mean, at the end of the film, you know, at least people can say, well, what happens? You know, why? And it's always nice when you come out of a film saying, well, what happens?
Once again, just a short-term
Just leave it to the audience.
Maryam Dabo, it was very nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Best of luck.
Have you been to Texas ever?
I have. I've been to Del Rio. Del Rio. Yeah.
That's got to be a wonderful story. Are we? Okay. Timothy, before we get to talking about the picture, I bring you greetings from a friend, from Stephanie Zimbalist, who said that I should say to you, toy, toy, toy. And I said, is that something dirty? And she assures me it is not.
Oh, Stephanie, how nice. And we were just talking about Del Rio. Well, I was in Del Rio in Texas working on a film series for TV called Centennial that Stephanie was in. But I have to admit, I haven't a
Toy,
clue.
toy, toy?
What? Toy, toy, toy?
She says it's good luck in Japanese.
Oh, I see. Well, that's terrific then. Thanks. Thanks.
Now, that's what she told me. If we hear from some Japanese person...
I didn't know what you meant for a minute, Bobby. I thought there was some wonderful moment when toy, toy, toy had meant something to you.
No, that's what she told me to tell you. Anyway,
Terrific.
She's a charming, lovely woman. But we are here to talk about you as the new James Bond. And I must tell you straight away that you are the most romantic of the James Bonds. And I, as a woman, that was my reaction. And I analyzed it later, and I think it's because of the relationship that you have with one woman. Now, how important was that to you? Was that something that was already there, or was that something that you asked them to think about?
Well, I think it's always more or less been there, irrespective of the publicity hype that always shows Bond surrounded by beautiful ladies. I mean, that's great publicity, you know, but, well, it's great publicity if you know, like that sort of... I think the films should be and are much more serious than that kind of publicity would lead you to believe. The movies have always centered around one leading lady, right from the very beginning, Dr. No with Ursula Andress, right through to the one in which he got married, and I think looking at them through the series, certainly as a generalization, Bond has always fallen for one lady. I think if our film has developed that, I think if our film has developed that theme, then I'm very, very pleased, because I think it's a good theme, it's a right theme, it brings a better dimension to the film, and I do think it's classic Fleming. I mean, Fleming, when I read Fleming to find out how the hell to play James Bond, I was astonished by how romantic Fleming was. I mean, he had his man going out on these very difficult, dangerous, tense, extraordinary missions, and always seeing a lady who was a victim or in distress and rescuing her and falling in love with her. And it was genuine love. Now, I do think that theme has been in all the films, but I think it has been more developed in ours, and I think that's great credit to Maryam.
Was there ever a day, Timothy, when, because of the great physical stuff that one must do as Bond, was there ever a day when you said to yourself, why in the world did I ever take this on?
Oh, no.
Never got that tough, huh?
No, I think the real toughness was just the pressure of work. I mean, it was a very long shooting schedule. It's the longest I've ever worked on anyway. It's 19 weeks. And in that 19 weeks, I was supposed to have 4 days off, and I never got them. And often, when you're on location, you work very long hours. I mean, they're not the same hours you work when you're in town. And there is the constant pressure to think of something. I've got to go on any second, and not only be real and believable, but also try and find something that's imaginative and new and show another facet of the character. I've got to find ways of making him real and human and interesting and available to an audience. I've also got to find ways of, handling what has to be done. And that's incessant, it's never ending. So, week by week by week, that builds up. I think that was the difficulty. I mean, the physical stuff is, you can take a pause, you can have a break, you can get your breath back, and then you can run down the street. I can still run. I might be 40 years old, but I can run a bit and jump a bit, and at least well enough for the camera.
You realize... Why do you keep laughing? You must realize that now you are going to be a worldwide famous face. doesn't matter where you go anymore, unless you're in great disguise as an old woman or something, that you will be sought and recognized and so forth. Will you enjoy that kind of fame?
I probably won't, to tell you the truth. I don't think it's not an uncommon phenomena. I think, I mean, there's a very famous television series named after the place where you come from, and many other television series that have worldwide acclaim, where the actors and actresses are in people's homes every week. Many people have had the same problem. I wouldn't relish that, really, because the fabric for one's work comes from being able to be anywhere and everywhere. Film stars actually earn their money playing ordinary people. And if you're removed from the world of ordinary people, if you're forced out of that, you lose the very, earth, soil, nutriment of your work. But other people have coped with it. I hope I do.
I hear you have signed for 4 more pictures. Is that right?
Well, we certainly do have an arrangement.
This is with Cubby
That's without question, yes. I mean, we have to presume that the film will be successful, but Mr. Broccoli's always made it very clear that this is not an institution. It's had terrific success for 25 years, but they must succeed. And ever since Dr. No, he said, if the film we're doing makes $1, we'll make another. Now, we're not going to know about this one until, I should think, at least November or December, but given that it's a success. And, I mean, I think it's a very different kind of Bond. I think it's a romantic, mysterious, action thriller, and a damn good, cracking piece of entertainment. I think, hopefully, it will be a success, and I'll be thrilled to do some more.
Well, I predict that it is going to be a big success. The early indications are that people like you very much.
Well,
they like your James Bond.
People seem to be very enthusiastic at the moment, but time's got to tell.
Well, maybe in a couple of years, Timothy, we'll be back here talking about the next James Bond.
Let's hope so.
Okay.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you for your time. I enjoyed it very, very much. Good interview.
What is this?
I've had a few optional extras installed.
I love those effects. 40 minutes after now. All right, all you James Bond fans, hang on to those radio transmitting tie tacks, your cameras disguised as toothpicks, and your tear gas emitting fountain pens. 007's back, and we've got him this morning. Timothy Dalton, the new James Bond in the latest movie. It's called The Living Daylights, and it opens Friday nationwide. And that's why I haven't seen it. I don't go see movies until the public has. Welcome this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
We were just talking, you're on the circuit now. The new James Bond, everybody wants to talk to him. What does everyone ask you now?
Oh, well, questions are legion. You know, how did you get the part? What was it like playing James Bond? What does it mean to your life? A whole bunch of stuff.
How did you get the part?
That is a long story. I don't know if we've got time for that. It's a culmination of many, many years. I was asked, or at least approached 3 or 4 times in the past. And originally, I didn't want to take over from Sean Connery. He was far too good. He was wonderful.
Well, you must have been awfully young, too.
I was about 24, 25, which is too young. But when you've seen Bond from the beginning, you don't take over from Sean Connery.
Have you seen Bond from the beginning?
Well, I saw the early ones. I mean, who could forget Dr. No? I mean, that burst upon our consciousness was terrifically exciting.
How did you study for this role? Did you read all the Ian Fleming novels?
Well, I mean, first of all, you are dictated to by the script you've got to play. But beyond that, there's only one way to do it, and you can't create it out of the air, out of abstract. You go back to the creator.
Are you a
Ian
different?
Fleming.
Well, are you a different Bond than Sean Connery and Roger Moore?
I would think, without question. I've no idea how they approached the roles, but for me, it was to go back to Fleming, the creator of James Bond, and try and capture the spirit, the essence,
of his Bond and make it thoroughly modern and right for this film.
The face may be different, but some things about Bond never seem to change. He loves ladies, and he loves that perfect martini. And we've got a little clip now to show you, what is it? Shaken, Not Stirred. Shaken, Not Stirred with his new co-star, Maryam. Take a look.
На здоровье. Did I get it right?
Perfect. What's the matter? Cara, it's time I told you the truth. I'm not a friend of Yorgis. I'm a British agent looking for him. He's betrayed us all, Cara. The Russians, the British, even you.
Timothy, in this Bond film, is it more than coincidental that Bond is no longer bed-hopping considering the AIDS epidemic?
No, it's not. If you think back on all the films, even though they've often been publicized by lots of glamorous, gorgeous ladies, he always has one involvement. I think what's different and special about ours is that that involvement is better developed. It's much more real and human, much more modern. And I think Maryam, who you just saw, does a terrific job.
You're from the classical Shakespearean theater in England. Do you plan on doing more commercial projects? Do you want to do another Bond?
Well, first of all, we've got to make sure this is a success. And so far in Europe, it's been breaking all box office records, so we can, I think, feel pretty good about that. It's nice to be in a success.
Well, congratulations.
But, the theater is important, and I'll be going back to the theater this winter.
It must be an awfully fun part. Congratulations. Thank you for joining us, Timothy.
Thanks very much.
Both machines are right.
Can you hang a little more? That's better.
Right.
Good. Perfect. And then the other. That's great. I'll get out.
And in your own time.
Okay, you have speed? Okay. Well, Maryam, may I call you Maryam?
Of course.
Okay, and I'm Bobby. It is nice to have this chance to talk with you here in London, particularly because it's just now been the premiere. And with all the excitement last night of Prince Charles and Princess Diana, you had met them before. As a matter of fact, I hear you had, was it lunch or dinner?
I'd met them in Cannes at the Cannes Film Festival for dinner. And previously they came on the film set at Pinewood Studios to see us filming. So it was the third time I saw them yesterday.
So you must be feeling quite chatty with them by now.
That's what everybody says, you become great chums, and I say that they're a charming couple, and they must say I was quite amazed how they make you feel at ease. And they've got that wonderful quality, and I do feel at ease. I forget to say Royal Highness and all the things you're supposed to say.
How do you address them then?
Like I'm talking to you.
Ah. You don't sir or ma'am?
No, I don't. I thought, well, if I'm going to start thinking about it, I'll never be natural. And I'll be so tense and so on. So I just forgot about it. And it's as if they didn't ask for it. It's extraordinary. They've got that quality when they say hello to you, to just be normal and simple and don't worry about formalities.
Do they talk about films, or what do they like to talk?
Yes, they love. They're very much involved in the arts, and they love it. I think Princess Diana adores films a lot, and Prince Charles is very much into opera. But I mean, I don't really know, but I know that vague amount, yes.
And do they talk back and forth to each other?
Oh, yes. I mean, they're just like anybody, normal human being.
Yes.
But what I like is they're very, how would I put it? They've got this simplicity which is marvellous. You just feel, they make you feel really at ease, and they listen, and they ask questions and try to show to you as if you were the most amazing person in the world and want to know about you all your life. It's extraordinary. And they probably do that every day. They see, thousands of people every day. It's exhausting.
Is the royal marriage in trouble, as we read in?
No, that's what one calls the gutter press. And there's always been going to be gutter press the whole time. And it's known sometimes in the press that they sort of lift you up and then put you down. And unfortunately, the royal family are hit because they are the stars in this country, not the actors. It's not like in America where you've got a completely different system. But it's tough on them. But I'm sure the only way they get away with it is by not reading the press, because it's anyway, you'll read that sort of thing in the sort of what I shouldn't say trashy newspaper, but the sort of very, gutter press. You wouldn't read that in the Daily Telegraph or a paper like that. So it's just gossip. It really is.
Maryam, your life is going to change now because, first of all, let me tell you, you are wonderful in the film. You're
Thanks.
really very, very good. And I was not that familiar with your work before. And now, because of the impact that you're making in the film, and because it's a Bond film, your anonymity is gone.
I don't think so. A lot of people have said that to me, and I don't think so, because it will obviously if I go to a premiere or somewhere, people might, but otherwise I don't think so.
Want to bet?
Okay, let's have a bet. I'd be interested to know.
Yes, because I do hope we have a chance to meet again, because then that'll be my first question. Okay, Maryam, how has your life changed?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about your role. What I like about this Bond picture that I've never felt in the others, Maryam, is that it's more romantic.
Yes.
I think because Bond has a one-on-one relationship with one woman.
Exactly.
Now, whose idea was that?
I think they all together sort of decided they had to write a new script, more up-to-date, a stronger script, because they'd been sort of lacking that. A lot of the previous ones became very weak and slightly gimmicky. And they wanted to go back sort of classic, also sort of Ian Fleming, more traditional Bond, more integrity within James Bond, within the characters, within the story, the plot. And I think there was a mixture of everybody to sort of have just this one girl who existed in Ian Fleming's short stories. So she's a real character from his books. And so the whole thing was more classic, had a different turn. And I think also Timothy Dalton had a lot of input into that, saying, it's the way he portrayed James Bond, the caring side of him, when she's sort of at loss, and the sort of gentleman quality and the caring and sensitivity, in contrast with the ruthlessness and the sort of unpredictability, the dangerous side. I think he's mingled all these qualities, and it's very interesting when these two characters meet, because then he changes.
I think that women particularly are going to like this aspect, because always in the past
it's been very sexist and a lot of
Yes, and he was such a womanizer, and I think this seeing that he's capable of having a one-on-one relationship is a very appealing thing.
He did. I mean, James Bond did get married once on Her Majesty's Secret Service with Diana Rigg, who gets killed in the end. So they've had, a few different ones. But I think what was very important in this is that they realised that by having just a few strong characters like that, you get more involved. You're more involved in the film. And it's true, as you say, if he'd been sort of scattering around with lots of girls, then it's sort of you lose some sort of integrity within the storyline. And it's true, it's more romantic, more classical.
Timothy Dalton was your escort last night at the premiere, and are you all sort of friends off screen now?
Oh yes, we've been. When you spend 7 months with people you're working with, you get to know each other sort of pretty well, and I think because we've been through a lot of traumas, I mean not traumas, but with the stunts and everything, and getting up at 5 a.m. and sometimes working 18 hours a day or whatever. There is a steady friendship, definitely, amongst quite a lot of people actually on this film. There is a steady, good, solid, friendship.
What I'm asking is, are you all, excuse me, what I'm asking is, are you all dating?
Are we all...
Dating?
Oh, no, God, no. No.
I mean, he's not the man in your life, then,
No, God, no.
You wouldn't like that?
What? I wouldn't talk about my private life anywhere on camera now, but that's got nothing to do. No, God, no.
As far as the physicality of it, Maryam, was there ever a time when you thought, I had no idea what I was getting into?
You mean what, the physical sort of the work?
Yes, you know, all the stunts and all that. Was that ever too much for you?
No, I mean, at times I was perhaps scared and frightened because I'm terrified of bombs and dynamites and things like that, and I ended up working on a Bond movie where there's a lot of that. But I always pulled through, I always went through it. I mean, I'd sort of, you know, for 10 minutes I'd be tensed and sort of imagine the most horrendous things were going to happen, and then it was fine. It was fine. It's wonderful on this film is that everybody so much wanted to make this film that there was such teamwork, not only amongst the actors but with the crew and everybody, that, you know, even if there was a frustrating scene to do, a frustrating day, because I don't know, we hadn't done everything and we were sort of running late and all that, you know, everybody would go on and do it, which was great.
Well, it certainly is an exciting picture to watch, and you're very, very good in it. I enjoyed your performance
a lot.
And I do hope we meet again after your anonymity.
Thanks. We'll see who have won.
Okay, thank you, Maryam.
Bye-bye.
It's a very nice interview. Thank you. Thank you.
And just 10 years later, the suave secret agent became immortalized on film. Now, there have been several Bonds in the 25-year history of the films that followed, and now there's a new one on the horizon. But regardless of the name on the screen credits, there's no doubt that there's no one quite like the dashing, debonair, and dangerous Mr. James Bond.
Sit there, will you? James, where on earth have you been? I've been searching London for you. 007 is here, sir. May see you in a minute.
Money penny.
James, where have you been?
Much too far from you, darling.
Same old James. Only more so.
What about the rest of you?
Well, I was going to get around to that.
Well, you'd better go in. M's on leave, and the minister's arrived here with the chief of staff and wants to see you immediately.
Everyone has their own personal favorite Bond, but now there's a new hat in the ring.
What is it?
I've had a few optional extras installed.
Our own Jimmy Carter traveled to London to attend the world premiere of The Living Daylights and to talk with the newest Bond, Timothy Dalton.
The premiere. That's also a very stressful time, I would think, you know, being up there like that. How do you feel when something like this comes?
It must look so. It really must look so. It was very, very nice. You know, the police had cordoned off the square so no cars could get in. Maryam and I walked down the road and there were barriers and people at the side, and they started cheering, you know, and that was that kind of enthusiasm was really wonderful.
And up the stairs, there's Timothy Dalton, 007, waiting, and his co-star Maryam Darbo beside him. Up the stairs they come, and Timothy Dalton, the new 007, James Bond, ex-naval officer, owner of Aston Martin, meets Prince Charles, ex-naval officer, owner of Aston Martin. Princess now herself meeting Timothy Dalton.
It's so unbelievable, it's really unreal, so it loses, you cease to be nervous. It's just a strange, strange world. But very exciting because, you know, that's the night we've worked for.
As a Royal Shakespearean Theatre and from Bard to Bond, would some of your more serious colleagues, you would say the people who are the real purists, would they criticize you for doing something like this that's more pop entertainment, more mass appeal than something that would be very structured and doing strict Shakespeare in the proper way?
No.
You don't think
so? Well, I know not, because, I mean, some people might have criticized without my knowing it, but I've been overwhelmed by the excitement and enthusiasm for this role. I mean, one must also remember to make the distinction. I mean, one talks about serious and what's so-called not serious. This is a very serious movie. I don't mean it's presented seriously. All work is serious. You work your very hardest to make it great entertainment. And Shakespeare, you know, he did write a lot of comedies and adventures and satires as well as tragedies, and he'd have been thrilled to get a full house laughing and enjoying themselves. I mean, everything has its place. There are films that are cracking good entertainment like The Living Daylights, and there are films that are of a very different nature, but everything has its place, and as long as you feel there's value in the work, it's well worth doing.
You know, this time last year, This guy almost didn't get to be Bond. People thought it was going to be Pierce Brosnan from Remington Steele, but it turned out that his contract wouldn't allow him to do it because they called Remington Steele back. So this guy really is pretty lucky that he got the part of Bond.
That's true. He's going to be introducing a new James Bond haircut, too. Because all of them had to call him back. This guy. Well, as Jimmy mentioned, Timothy was with the Royal Shakespearean Theatre, so he does have a lot of classical training besides his other film work. And you can tell just by listening to him talk, he's quite charming.
Yes, he is. So charming.
Yeah, we found ourselves in Tangier, Morocco, November the 5th, 1986. And the scene that I developed, the flying carpet, if you like, it was very much in my mind when we were conceiving the film. And but when I actually got to shoot the film, the first thing that I didn't like was the shape of the carpet. It was a bit on the stiff side. Simon Crane, our stuntman on this particular scene, did a fabulous job of performing the stunt. But it all went too slowly, and it was a little bit, wasn't quite up to scratch, I didn't think. So that was a scene that I reluctantly had to drop.
Reviews were mixed on release, some saying Dalton's being the best Bond ever, and complimenting Dalton on being a more serious Bond than Moore's.
Take over. This time hold it steady.
Where are you going?
Drop a bomb.
The era of Roger Moore is over. That's Timothy Dalton, the fourth actor to try his hand as Agent 007 in a major James Bond adventure.
Our first movie is The Living Daylights with Timothy Dalton as the new James Bond. And I guess the question that people would like an answer to is, what kind of a James Bond does he make? Well, I give him a mixed review. Timothy Dalton is a good actor. He is very convincing in the movie's more serious moments. He has a great screen presence. He looks interesting. But if he has a weakness, it's the comic side of the character. With Sean Connery and with Roger Moore, you always knew that they saw the humor in James Bond, and I've always thought of this series as basically sort of a put-on plus special effects anyway. So with Dalton looking for humor, I wasn't so sure. Look, for example, at this scene involving a new edition of Bond's famous Aston Martin. Sean Connery had a lot of fun with the original version of this car, but Dalton plays it a little bit straighter.
What is this?
I've had a few optional extras installed.
Amazing, this modern safety glass. The movie includes a full array of all the usual obligatory Bond stunts. Here's a cliffhanger on Gibraltar in a scheme that involves the Russians and a renegade American arms dealer who wants to smuggle opium from Afghanistan. To stop the plot, Bond disguises himself as an Afghan and plants a bomb in a plane load of opium. He almost gets away with it, but he's spotted by the villain, played by Jerome Crabb. This is the most spectacular scene in the movie. Bond and the bad guy's henchman thousands of feet in the air while Bond's newest girlfriend nervously tries to pilot that plane.
That's Maryam D'Abo there, a former model as the beautiful blonde. A lot of social observers have taken note of the fact that Bond, the old ladies' man, has a very conservative affair with just that one woman in this movie, unless, of course, you count the fact that in the pre-title sequence, they always have at least one scene where Bond drops in on some beautiful woman unexpectedly. Maybe that lack of Bond's traditional promiscuity in this film reflects the fear of AIDS in our society. I don't know, but it puts a lot of responsibility on Maryam D'Abo's shoulders as the only Bond woman in the whole movie. And after such legendary Bond girls as Ursula Andress, Maude Adams, Kim Basinger, and Britt Eklund, I frankly didn't find her very interesting. She just didn't seem to have the psychic weight to carry this role. She plays a Russian cello player who's innocently caught up in espionage, but the plot is never the point anyway in a Bond picture. It's just the relationships and the stunts, and my bottom line is the movie has great stunts, it has good special effects, it has a Bond who needs to work on his sense of humor, and it has a Bond girl who is not in the great tradition.
And
I should add thumbs down.
Me too, Roger. I was disappointed in the film. I'm not as impressed actually with Dalton as you are. He's better than Roger Moore, but for me, that's not much of a compliment. He's nowhere near Connery was. It's a classic figure. To me, he looked a little mousy. This Pierce Brosnan, I saw him in a new film coming up, Fourth Protocol. I think he might make a better Bond. He has more of the verve for life. This guy seems a little reticent. The other thing that you mentioned, I think, is very accurate about the Bond woman. She's not very appealing. And then the third point I'd like to make is all of the stunts that work are borrowed from the earlier films. The ticking clock down, remember how down to 007 in the original, they did it, the wheel, the spinning wheel. It's all taken from stuff before. They got nothing new here, really, Roger, and that's why it doesn't work.
I'm not sure exactly how much new you expected them to have at this point in the series. They've exhausted the entire life work of Ian Fleming and everybody else who could think of a plot.
Exhausted.
So I've got to go back now and defend Timothy Dalton. Now, you mentioned Pierce Brosnan, who was also offered this role. Dalton, I think, does have a very good screen presence there. I think that he's the last thing I would describe him as mousy. I think that's an astonishing thing for you to say.
Well, I did it. I called James Bond a mouse, and I live to say it.
We're both disappointed by The Living Daylights, the new James Bond movie, although I like Timothy Dalton a little better than Gene did. 2 thumbs down.
Susie's crazy about Living Daylights, the new James Bond film. And man, she's gonna want the free stickers inside every pack of Trio.
Stickers! Stickers! I want those stickers and I want them now!
I just dig happy endings.
There are 4 James Bond stickers in every special pack of...
The Living Daylights is a UK VHS release by Warner Home Video. It was first released on rental on the 1st of April 1988 by Warner Home Video.
The name that means excitement is back. Bond. James Bond.
That girl must be very talented.
Shut up.
Believe me, my interest in her is purely professional.
What is it?
They've had a few optional extras installed.
Wherever he goes, adventure follows.
2 of our men are dead. Koskos named you. Then I must die. Eliminate him.
Kill him!
He lives for danger. He lives for the moment. He lives on the edge.
Whoever she was, I must have scared the living daylights out of her.
James Bond, 007, The Living Daylights.
CBS Fox Video proudly announces its March release of The Living Daylights, the latest James Bond box office smash that grossed over $50 million and became one of the top-grossing Bond films of all time. Timothy Dalton is the new James Bond, and the critics love him and The Living Daylights. Dalton's more vigorous than Moore, better looking than Connery, The Hollywood Reporter, the most elaborate special effects in 007 history, Newsday, the best Bond ever, The Washington Post. 007 is back, and CBS Fox will ignite consumer awareness by running an extensive ad campaign in enthusiast and consumer publications. We'll also draw customers into the video store with our free poster offer. All sales kits will have order forms for the consumer to reserve a free Living Daylights poster. This offer will be supported with a comprehensive radio promotional program. And that's not all. A 30-second television commercial will be available with room for a 5-second dealer tag. In addition, there will be a life-size standee and our eye-catching poster. Bond is back, and he's bigger than ever. From CBS Fox Video.
Living Daylights is the final Bond film to be scored by composer John Barry. The soundtrack is notable for its introduction of sequenced electronic rhythm tracks overdubbed with an orchestra, at the time a relatively new innovation. The title song of the film, The Living Daylights, was co-written by Pal of the Norwegian pop group a-ha and recorded by the band. The group and Barry did not collaborate well, resulting in 2 versions of the theme song. Barry's film mix is heard on the soundtrack and on a-ha's later compilation album Headlines and Deadlines.
A well-known singer or group should record the theme for each new James Bond film. As this year is the 25th anniversary of the series, the producers were particularly glad to sign one of Europe's most successful groups for The Living Daylights. The Norwegian trio, a-ha, posed for photographers to announce their signing, and to announce that they'd be working with the man who's composed most of the Bond soundtracks, John Barry.
I was familiar with their music, and then I came over just a while ago and went out to a concert that they were doing in Croydon and saw them for the first time perform and met them. And I think we get on very well together. I think we're going to have some fun with it.
We were asked to come up with a demo, for the which we did, and it sort of took us here.
So,
it'll be a collaboration once we get in the studio and start working out. So
we wrote that at the end of the tour, so it was semi-finished. But he's been working on it as well, so it's going to be interesting to see what he's come up with.
Yeah.
What's it going to be called, the song?
Big surprise, The Living Daylights.
But recording the single is only half of the business of having a hit today. There's still the video to make. This video, their first, Take On Me, won them international acclaim. And for The Living Daylights, they worked with the same team. Director Steve Barron chose as his setting the biggest soundstage outside of Hollywood, the vast 007 stage at Pinewood Studios, built especially for the Bond films. Outside the stage, they were setting up a dramatic helicopter shot, while inside they used giant projectors to beam scenes from the film down onto the group below. To these shots were carefully added other Bond images until they'd achieved the effect they wanted.
I think a lot is going to happen in post-production. They've only got us for one day to do this, and so it has to be fairly quick. And
when you make a video with a film like Bond thing in the archives, you can do you have a free video right there, so.
Plus, Steve Barron is pretty snappy with the old superimpose and video tricks.
With this one in particular, I think I had no idea what I was supposed to do until I arrived here, because it's come up pretty instantly, and
you still have no idea.
I still have no idea what it's going to look like.
It was actually quite hard to write, because normally we don't have any thoughts of the movie or something we have to fit in, so it's very hard to get the lyrics not sounding this or that, so you have to make it a bit abstract, but I guess the key words in the song are Living Daylights. That's true. Wasn't my answer, but that's a good one.
And after countless hours of editing, the team have the result they want.
Pay attention, Bond. This is the Sinclair ZX Spectrum Plus 2. It's a fully operational computer with 128K memory, but it comes with 3 James Bond games and a light gun that fires armor-piercing shells. Now that's your assignment. No, don't sit in that chair. Sorry, Bond. Haven't perfected that yet. The Sinclair ZX Spectrum Plus 2.
The Living Daylights is a run-and-gun video game adaptation of the 1987 James Bond film. It was the second Bond game published by Domark following 1985's poorly received A View to a Kill, the computer game. The game was released for all major platforms at the time: the Atari 8-bit, BBC Micro, Commodore 64, Amstrad, and the ZX Spectrum. The game was re-released as a light gun shooter on various cassette tapes. The plot was generally rewritten and explained on narration audio cassettes by Desmond Llewellyn as Q.